Hello! Today I'm going to show you some tricks when it comes to people in photography. According to Swedish law or European law, I'm not allowed to take pictures of people in a way that you recognize them. So there are two ways. Either you have a slow shutter speed, I'm going to show you, or you use a Photoshop to blend photos, to get rid of people, to make it empty. So join me to Nässjö, the central station here in Sweden, where I'm going to take photos for Jernhusen. They own a lot of station houses in Sweden, and they asked me to take photos of Nässjö central station. I just had to make a stop here just outside Lammhult on the way to Nässjö for some lunch, and I found this beautiful location by a lake. I'll show you on the map where I am, but it's really nice to have this flexibility to just stop and make lunch in the van. That's pretty neat, actually. I think this is it. The parking space I found on the some app I use. So here I am at Nässjö Central Station, just south of Jönköping, right here on the map. I've discovered there's a train coming from one way or the other, and I am hoping for a lot of people on the train, because we want the station, but we also want, the people on the station. But we don't want to recognize the people, because then I might get sued. Or, So I mounted a ND filter on it, on the lens. It's a variable ND filter. I'm going to show you what it's like. You can adjust it from minimum. Like that is a normal exposure. 1/30th of a second, f9, ISO 64. But then I want at least an eighth of a second. So here is an example of 1/8 of a second. It's very much overexposed, but I want 1/8 of a second, because if people are moving, then they're going to get blurry. So I'll just turn the ND filter until I see that it's properly exposed. Like that, something. Then we have a perfectly exposed image at 1/8 of a second in broad daylight. I can also, if we want even slower shutter speed, I can take it to 1 second, and let's turn it all the way to maximum. There somewhere, 1 second. So this is 1 second. It's still the same exposure, basically. So there we go. That's the trick with the ND filter. You can get them in variable ND filters like this one, or you can buy them in like 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops, up to 10 stops, I think. I don't know, big stoppers or whatever they're called. But that's trick number 1, to get people blurry. And one more thing, this ND filter is of course very good to create motion blur on any moving objects, like a train or cars or anything, not just people, because motion blur can be quite effective to show that something is moving. So that's motion blur with the help of ND filters. So let's take a look at the other trick I have to add people or remove people with multi-exposure. Let's have a look. So here we are in the van, and I'm going to show you on the computer how we are able to add people to a scene. We have the composition set and we have the exposure set, so we just have to add people, because there's not very many people at the same time at the place. So we have to take one exposure of this family, for instance, one exposure of this nice bike and these people to the left, and we make one exposure of the people in the middle of the frame, because those are nice. So I think we have a balance between the people scattering this place with these 3 exposures. But we actually need to go to Photoshop. We select the 3 exposures and we open them as layers in Photoshop. And in Photoshop we have the 3 exposures as 3 separate layers now. And all we need to do now is make a selection from the first exposure and make a mask of them. So as you can see on the right down here, the mask, the white is what we want to keep, and the black is going away from that layer. We do the same with the next layer. We have the bike guy. We make a selection of him, press shift and make another selection, so both the bike guy and the people on the left are selected. We make another mask, and voila, we now see the background layer as well, with the people in the middle of the frame. Perfect. So when we open and show the second layer, we have the bike and the people on the left, and if we open also, we show the third layer on top, we get the people in the middle. So that way we have actually a pretty crowded place, because the client wants to show this place as a place where there's a lot of people. Of course, a lot of people want to go to the station and go by train around Sweden and everywhere. And sometimes you have to make some small adjustments to the different layers, because they're not always perfect. They're not perfectly aligned, and sometimes if you have to wait for a while, then you also might have to adjust the levels or the curves to make the exposure match even more, because maybe the sun has had time to move. Sometimes I have to stand there for quite some time to get all the people that I want. So that's the trick of adding people to a photo. The next trick is if you don't want any people in a photo. We could do the same. We could mask them away, of course, from the different layers, because we have, in the different exposures, we have places where there are no people. But there's another trick. We can select all the 3 layers and make a smart object out of them. And then in the layers panel, we can go up to smart object and stack mode and select median. Then Photoshop is in this sort of command, Photoshop is looking for differences between the 3 exposures in the smart object, and it's calculating the differences and takes them away, because the station house and the park and the street and everything like that is the same in the 3 exposures, but the people are differences between the 3 exposures, so it removes them. Very smooth, very easy, and that actually concludes the Nässjö trip. That's all for today. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye!